The station clock glowed. 11:55 p.m. Sarah hurried onto the platform. The train hissed, waiting. She was the last one on. The doors slammed shut. Sarah shivered. The air inside felt cold. The dim lights flickered. The train lurched forward into the night. She found a seat. The carriage was almost empty. The silence was eerie. A few figures huddled in shadows, their faces obscured. No one looked at her. She felt a chill run down her spine. Sarah gazed out the window. The night landscape blurred past. The train cut through a dark forest. Trees loomed like specters. Strange noises echoed through the carriage. Sarah looked around nervously. She clutched her coat tighter. The train moved deeper into the night. Her reflection in the window seemed ghostly. She felt haunted. The train sped on. Sarah closed her eyes, hoping for sleep. The train rattled down the track. The only sound was the rhythmic clickety-clack of the wheels. It was unnerving. Sarah glanced at the other passengers. The atmosphere was thick with an eerie silence. A man in a wide-brimmed hat stared at his shoes, lost in thought. An old woman clutched a worn teddy bear, her eyes distant and unfocused. No one spoke. No one moved. The silence was almost palpable. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. This train was different. It felt alive, almost sentient. She tried to read her book, but the words wouldn't focus. Something felt wrong, terribly wrong. Her hands trembled slightly and her eyes darted around nervously. The train passed through a dark tunnel, shadows flickering on the walls like ghostly apparitions. Sarah looked out the window, her worried face reflected back at her. As the train emerged from the tunnel, the moonlight illuminated the carriage, casting an ethereal glow. She closed her book and took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. The train sped through the night, stars twinkling in the sky as if watching over the silent companions within. A figure emerged from the shadows at the end of the carriage. The conductor. He moved with an unnatural stillness. His face was pale, almost grey. His eyes glowed with an eerie light. He punched tickets without a word. He stopped at Sarah's seat. His eyes bored into hers. She felt a cold shiver, like a ghost passing through her. He moved on, his footsteps silent on the metal floor. Sarah noticed something. His shadow didn't move. Her heart raced as she watched him. The conductor's hand reached out, almost touching her. She recoiled in fear, her breath quickening. His eyes narrowed as if he could see into her soul. Sarah clutched her ticket, her knuckles white. Then without a word he turned away. Sarah exhaled, relief washing over her. The conductor disappeared into the shadows, leaving her with a lingering sense of dread. The train screeched, slowing down. Sarah looked out the window, her breath fogging up the glass. They weren't at a station. They were in a forest, the trees looming ominously. The trees pressed close to the tracks, their branches like skeletal fingers. Twisted branches scraped against the windows, creating a haunting melody. The air outside was thick with fog, swirling like ghostly apparitions. Whispers seemed to drift from the fog, carrying secrets of the night. Sarah felt a presence outside, watching her every move. It was time to get off this train, she decided. She pulled the emergency brake, her heart pounding. Nothing. She was trapped, the train's grip unyielding. The train was slowing down but not stopping, as if it had a mind of its own. This was no ordinary journey. It was a passage into the unknown. This was the midnight line, a haunting ride through the shadows. Sarah's reflection stared back at her, pale and fearful. The wheels ground against the tracks, sending sparks into the night. She gripped the seat tightly, her knuckles white with tension. The train disappeared into the fog, its lights fading into the darkness. Sarah finally managed to pull the emergency brake. The train screeched to a halt. She stepped out into the foggy forest. The whispers grew louder. She saw shadows moving between the trees. She had to find a way out. The forest seemed endless. Every step she took, the whispers followed. She stumbled upon an old abandoned station. It looked like it hadn't been used in years. She entered, hoping to find help. The station was empty, but she felt she wasn't alone. The whispers were inside now. She had to escape. She ran back to the train, but it was gone. She was trapped in the forest with the whispers closing in. Gap 2S. Sarah's eyes darted around the station, searching for any sign of life. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. She noticed an old ticket booth, its glass cracked and covered in dust. A faint light flickered inside. She approached cautiously, her heart racing. Gap 2S. Inside the booth, she found a small dusty journal. The pages were yellowed with age, filled with handwritten notes and sketches. The last entry was dated decades ago, describing a similar experience to her own. A passenger who had pulled the emergency brake and ended up in the same eerie forest. Gap 2S. The entry ended abruptly, the final words smeared as if written in a hurry. The whispers are not just voices, they are memories, trapped souls seeking release. Beware the shadows. Gap 2S. Sarah's hands trembled as she closed the journal. The whispers seemed to grow even louder, more desperate. She felt a chill run down her spine as she realized the truth. She was not the first, and she might not be the last. The forest and the station were a trap, a place where lost souls were ensnared. Gap 2S. Determined to escape, Sarah gathered her courage and stepped back into the fog. The shadows moved closer, but she refused to give in to fear. She had to find a way out, to break the cycle and free herself from the haunting echoes of the abandoned station.